defining their production workflow. So they don't want auto-tune. They want to be able to lay it down straight. Right off the bat, even great singers, if they're not sent perfect, have to do a lot of takes. So auto-tune, Antares auto-tune, is great when you do a great performance that's a little off. It doesn't polish a turd for you. So he's going to talk about how he doesn't want auto-tune. And I just want to say, don't let your ego get in the way of auto-tune if it helps your production workflow.
Not consistent. So I have to compress stuff because my breath work is horrible. I'm just wondering if all of these are inside my head or if they're actual problems. Maybe I just need more plugins. But yeah. I'm no singer.
I don't think plugins
so
are
keep
the
that in mind.
solution.
It's not
usually
something that I need to get really good at. It's just something that I want to, get better at so I could use my time better. Because it's annoying to have to fix stuff all the time. Anyway, whatever.
Relatable.
What are you fighting for?
So right off the bat, that's just excess air. That's way too much air. And that's where you're going to lose control if you're shoving air. And let me be more specific, because usually when people say you're pushing, they don't give you a solution or a description of what it is. So let me bring up my favorite tool, Audacity. Boosh. That's my spectrogram. I like that better, but probably people won't be able to get their hands on that. But Audacity is free and perfectly valid for this situation. So what I would say that you'd have to practice is when I say breath control, I'm going to talk about your onset, which is the start of a note. So this is what you did. What are you fighting for? Or something like that. That's what you did. Now, I want you to look at this. I'm going to zoom out. You see how that starts very abruptly loud, right? It's not totally flat. It's not like this. Ha! Right? It's not like that. But this is really, really loud, and then it just gets louder. What you want to practice, especially on your higher notes, is releasing a lot less air. Now, there's two exercises. This one is more extreme, and I recommend you don't do this on your higher end. Do this like in your middle, right around here. This is called an aspirate gradual. When you slowly leak air, when you slowly control your air, your folds slowly come together. And the reason why this is the case is it's called the Bernoulli effect, okay? Yay, physics. If these are your vocal folds and you put air through them, you see how they come closer together? That's how the vocal folds work. There's other things you can do to bring them together, but for our purposes, let's just say that that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on exhaling in such a delicate and gradual way that we're going to put our folds together gradually. So this would be this. Not quite. That's closer. This is probably actually the best one, is the first one. But you see how this happens. Way too much. Okay, I'll just delete it. But you see how it was gradual, right? It wasn't like a straight line, where the other ones are a straight line. So this practices how gentle you can do the things, which is really important for high notes. So the more gradual you can get, the better. Now, this is one part of it. This is one part of a two-part solution. This kind of practice, where you're practicing your onset and gradually doing this, is really, really great, because it will teach you to sing gently. Part two of this is don't start with an aspirate. Don't start breathy. So do this. And then do it on every vowel. And that's going to be actually very challenging in the middle of your range. But this will teach you how to morph your vowels. So start with E because the tongue is very forward on E, and that's what you want. Ideally, your tongue is forward and wide. So not only is it forward like this, but the sides of your tongue you can feel with your molars, with your back teeth. That's what you want to be able to do. So this will work on your vowels and your breath control. Now, as far as singing higher notes, while this is fundamentally helpful because you need to learn to control and sing with less air as you ascend, because as we said with the Bernoulli effect, more air will have them come together and thicken them, and then they'll just pop in a falsetto. You need thinner folds as you go up. Also, nothing wrong with falsetto. It's just if that's all you can do and it's not an artistic decision, that's a problem. All right, one other thing that I want to bring up here. This is a compound stretch. It gets the entirety of the posterior chain. So the back of your neck, your traps, your back, so the lats, your glutes, your hamstrings, and even your calves. And it's actually very, very easy to pull off and stay in. This is a time lapse, and the reason I time lapse it is because I want you to see the dramatic difference of when I start, which is right here, and then when I end, which is right here. Right? Pretty dramatic difference. You can see that my head here, even though I'm breathing and trying to relax, starts above my knees. The second time I go for it over here, and I can remove the view analytics thing. How do I get rid of that? I don't want that there. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. But you can see here, my head is definitely below my knees. And my back, the breathing that I'm doing is even moving the much lower part of my back. So my lower back is expanding in response to my breath. This doesn't happen in the beginning. So why is that important? Well, your problem with high notes is that you use too much air. And you have a lot of tension. Those things combined will sabotage your pitch. Your voice will take measures to protect itself when you're using too much air. So these stretches are effectively like blowing up a balloon. If you blow up a balloon at first, it's very difficult, but if you keep blowing it up, it gets easier and easier. Same principle applies here. If you're tight, you can basically, if you're trying to blow up a balloon and your hand is compressing on it, that's what's happening with your lungs when you have this torso tension, okay? People, the idea of a diaphragmatic breathing, right? That's a misnomer. The diaphragm works whether or not you want it to. If it's not working, you're dead. All right? That controlling your diaphragm is like saying, go ahead and beat your heart at 60 beats per minute. Go. These organs and muscles do not have nerve endings. There's no point in trying to control your diaphragm. What you can do is work on your torso flexibility. Your lungs are like a plastic bag. They do not have structure of their own. They are attached to the torso via lining. The reason why a collapsed lung is so bad and dangerous is because it disconnects from the torso. So with that, if we go back to the balloon analogy, if you have a tight torso, that's like pressing against a balloon as you're trying to blow it up. Whereas if you have a loose torso, you don't have that friction. Additionally, your exhale becomes a lot more controlled. Because again, if you're building this pressure up and you crunch the balloon, air will escape faster. So you don't want that. You want to suspend your torso and you want a very flexible torso. These two things combined will help you tremendously to stay on pitch, because anytime you use too much air, your false folds, which are above the vocal folds, will contract. And all of these reflexes will come in, your soft palate will droop. All of the things that your body would do to protect against damage from like a cough will happen if you sing with too much air. Now, I want to give you one more piece of advice because it seems like you want to do more rock vocals. So here's one more exercise for your rock vocals. We're going back to Audacity. We're going to do a glottal. And a glottal is just hold your breath. And as you try to hold your breath, you try to make a sound. And what that is your folds are closed because you're holding your breath. And then you, as you're trying to kind of not breathe, or like you're trying to hold your breath a little bit and you put some air pressure in, boom, This is what happens to the folds. It's called a glottal. Glottal stop. And the reason why this is really good for you and for harsh vocals in particular is when you hold your breath, your false folds contract. You want some contraction of the false folds. It makes a very different sound. So this would be full retraction, more classical, and this is not what you want. All right, so classical. Here's middle false folds. I will find my way. I can go the distance. Right? Neutral, more speech-like. Constricted folds, or false folds, adducted. If you do the glottal, and you can feel the false folds being there, and it gives a harsher sound. That's not the only thing that's important for harsh vocals, but here's what you can see with the waveform and how we can judge whether or not using the glottal, using the constricted false folds, how we're dealing with the air pressure. It's the same exercise as before. We want it to be gradual. We want the ability to really make this incredibly gradual. When you're doing a glottal, this flat left, is going to happen. You can't adjust that. That's part of the glottal. That's part of the attack, sustain, decay, right? You're a producer, so you know what I'm saying there. But you want this to still be a gradual increase because that's good practice for controlling. I don't, other than the false fold contraction, I don't know anything else about rock vocals. But luckily, these concepts apply universally. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you don't mind I shared this with my students. I didn't use your face. I blurred that out. So anyway, hope that helps. And good luck. Let me know if you have any issues going forward.